Hello and welcome to another episode of Soul Nectar Show, that show where we talk about all things essence, where we gather around the campfire and share our stories and our perspectives and the things we learned along the way in the hopes that we can elevate our consciousness all together, sitting around that campfire together, sharing our stories. And I'm your host, Carrie Hummingbird. I absolutely love having conversations like this. It's my favorite thing in the world. I like to peel back the veil to understand, the mechanics, what's happening behind the scenes. What is this conscious framework? What are we doing here? Why are we here? Why do we feel so many things? Why do we think so many things? Where does it all come from? Why are we doing it? I love to explore that, and I love to help people to start that journey for themselves and to have that really personal conversation with the divine that's only meant for them. And today I welcome another wonderful, amazing guest. I welcome Omar Makram. Welcome, Omar.
Thank you for inviting me.
So excited to have a conversation with you. It's going to be juicy today. So, from restless nights living in the center of political unrest during his childhood, playing raging riotous music in a popular heavy metal rock band in the Middle East, to an eye-opening spiritual experience at the age of 25, Omar finally discovered what he had been asking and seeking his whole life, the ability to find and teach the hidden yet simple spiritual principles that lead to living purpose. And he's got a wonderful book, Transcending the Maya Matrix, that has ranked #1 on Amazon for the first 12 consecutive months. That's amazing. He's the host of the Intentional Beings podcast, and I already know we're going to have such a juicy conversation. So, Omar, tell us about your beginnings. I'm really so intrigued by your beginnings and how you lived with all of this unrest and your rock music, and then how that led to an awakening. Let's get going.
Let's do it. Let's start in Egypt. I was born in Egypt to an Egyptian family, and we soon moved to Libya. And there was unrest happening. I don't want to get political here, but there was time where people went to jail and things like that, and people that we know. And so there was very hardship at the beginning. I was afraid. I was literally scared every night that the door will break, people come in the middle of the night, take my dad away, night after night. And the weird thing that I never told a soul, nobody knew about this. It was me, my secret. And in my mind, I will imagine being Superman, I will save the day and things like that. And just like a lot of children, being bullied a lot and being different from the very beginning, just not identifying with outside and being on the inside a lot, which brought me a lot of pain because I couldn't identify with the outside that much. And early, my father told me a lot about a book called Yoga Philosophy. It was translated into Arabic, written by a guy named Yogi Ramacharaka. It was lectured in 1906. And my dad kept telling me, this book has changed my life. This book has changed my life. One day I picked that book and I never let go of it. Until this day, I still have it. That book has introduced me to a concept of spiritual awakening. And I became obsessed. I didn't know how to get there. And I had to get there. There was no other choice for me. I had to understand what spiritual awakening means. And so yoga, a lot of yoga, and a lot of meditation. And one day, about 20 years ago, I had a very powerful, profound spiritual awakening. I want to say that I was under the influence at the time. I was a musician and I would do drugs and things like that. And that was a very powerful one because all of a sudden, I'm telling myself the phrase I am, and something else happened. Another dimension opened. And when I went to sleep at night, I thought, well, if this weird, wonderful, joyous experience went away, then that will be fine. was the first time that I think in this way. Like, I need to grab on something usually, but that day I didn't want to grab on something. I said, let it unfold. And for about 2 weeks, after the drug effect went away, I was in that state. And I would call it absolute joy, because there was nothing cluttering that experience. In fact, during the time, I called it nirvana. And right now, from where I am, I don't care if it was or wasn't. But I know one thing, it was extremely powerful that, that, you know, told me what is outside, what is going on behind that veil, because I was meant for me to go that route. During the next few years, I learned a lot about spiritual awakening. I let go of drugs and alcohol, and I intended to come to the United States, and it was one of the biggest manifestations. This is where I started learning about co-creation as well. So at the beginning, it was self-realization, it was about awakening. And then I started to learn about co-creation. And then I came to the United States, and I shook hands with the greatest musicians that I loved all my life, and the gurus. And then in 2001, I was introduced to Abraham Hicks. Probably you know who's Abraham Hicks.
Oh,
Esther Hicks,
absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
Abraham.
Wonderful stuff.
And Abraham introduced us to something called blending with the inner being. It was a tape. I don't know if you remember, back then, Esther used to have an accent when she channels Abraham. And so there was a tape that I listened to every day. And I stayed home for 30 days in a row. I don't teach this anymore. This is a method that I would call it breaching the kingdom. I had to know, and I'm extremist. All my life I was extremist. And so this time I stayed closing everything, not doing anything beside meditation for 30 days in a row, with the intention of being blending with that inner being or soul, as Abraham Hicks talked about it. And then something happened. Something very powerful, profound happened at that time that confused me a lot. And during that year, 2002, there was so much confusion that I had to travel and go to Abraham Hicks and sit with them and ask them what is the heck is going on with me. I have that recording on my website. If you go there, interview between me and Abraham about channeling 17 years ago. So what happened is that energy flows in very strong, and I will feel extreme ecstasy, but there was also anxiety. Because again, I said, I don't teach breaching the kingdom, because you have to really be prepared all around before getting there. But when you have part of you there and the other part is not, there is a shift between anxiety and ecstasy. And I was in that state for a while. And the energy will come through and make me sing and do some kind of yoga that I called it moga. Actually, my wife did call it moga. And a channeling experience. And the words will come out in cryptic language that I don't understand, in a very strange language that freaked me out. Literally, it freaked me out, because I was living alone at that time. And I wasn't used to this. And so I really suggest that you listen to that interview between me and Abraham 17 years ago, talking about that experience, the specificness. And you will see that I was really confused person at that time. Like, spirits is talking to me, or what is going on?
Yeah,
What
I
is
can understand that. I mean, I've been in healing ceremonies, like with people locally in Austin who do that. They channel these voices and things that happen. And it's like, it causes me anxiety sometimes to hear it. And then, but luckily for me, when I channel, I do it through words. Like, it just comes in quietly. So I think because I'm more comfortable with that, it comes in, just like quietly, and it goes into words on paper, So for me, it's much gentler. But when that happens, yes, I imagine I can't even imagine it actually, because I've witnessed that happen, and I can perceive when I see somebody in that state, I know it. I can feel that there's something larger moving through them, out through their body, and and they're allowing it to come through that way, and that's amazing to me. So keep going, because that's incredible.
Yes, exactly. It took me a while, it took me a few years to balance that energy, because it was too strong, and it will come. And I was also, one of the things that I'm into back then in Egypt was Kundalini yoga. I wanted to meet Yogi Bhajan, and I did, and I meditated with him when I came to the United States. And part of that experience, you feel like there's movement in your body, and the movement will push my neck all the way down to here, and my abdomen all the way tucked in. And I read about this years ago in Kundalini yoga books, because when the energy goes up, there's locks. There are locks in the body. They call it Molbanda, and there are names for them. When you do that, you allow the energy to go out from the down up. I don't want to get into this much, but anyway, so I knew something, but I still didn't know it deep inside. And that was my journey. And it took me some time, until about 2007, when I had that insight about this book. Again, it's called Transcending the Maya Matrix. And the book showed me just a vision, or my inner being, my innate guide, showed me just a vision. And that vision was about 7 principles, that these are the only thing that are eternal, and that you can depend on it. Everything else you can't. You cannot depend on anything else. But what I call in the book the innate guide of co-creation and self-realization. Even the things that seem so beautiful, even Astor Hicks himself, so bigger than life, Abraham Hicks, I think they say that as well sometimes during their words. You cannot depend on anything outside of your being. And so it was revealed to me, those 7, and I didn't rush to write the book immediately. I had to make sure that this was correct. And when I did, I had to write the book. And the book was not easy to write. It was a lot of struggle. I was afraid, because here I am, Egyptian, don't know even how to speak English sometimes. And the energy feels bigger than life to me. Like, really? That's the only thing that is that constant? Why nobody else wrote about it? And I looked during those years, and I found out that there was a lot of attempts to write about those 7 rays, 7 principles that connect us with the whole of life, the inner being. And so it felt bigger than me, and I had to grow again into it and know that it's me. And when my fear came through, which always seemed to happen, the fear, my inner guidance told me, I was afraid that this book, I'll put it there and will dive down, because there are thousands of books are released every single day on Amazon.com, that I will put that book there, will dive down, never to be seen again, because nobody knows me. But I put it there, and it stayed for 12 consecutive months, #1 bestseller, not only in the United States, but also in different countries in the world. So, okay, so the inner guide told me to focus on one thing, to be a clear channel. You have nothing, it's not your responsibility what the book's gonna do, who's gonna write it. You have these impulses, this energy coming through, and you have to get yourself out of the way.
That's so right. Oh my gosh. So can I ask you a question? During the time that you were channeling the book and doing the work, did you notice that also in your life, things were happening to make you let go of attachments and things that in your life to also make you more free to channel? Like, in other words, like I notice when I'm doing this work that I'm doing now, um, that anything I depend on outside of myself or think I want to be a certain way, that has gotten totally disrupted. Like just, you know, no, that can't be. You know, like you have to be inside.
I wanna tell you a quote here from this book. I think I'm addressing what I call the intentional beings, you and me, basically. And there is a part here that says, it talks about the dark night of the soul, that some of us had to go through this. And I said, we walked alone during heavy rain and cold storms that shattered every belief, every shelter, and every cover we had relied on. Remember, intentional one, that inevitably the sunny day must come. We have gained so much power from these experiences, and we will keep that power forever. And basically, we had to let go of all these things that we relied on. And it is all illusion.
Yes, yes, it's all, and that is exactly true. It's like, it is so that I don't believe or attach to the illusion anymore. It's so that I only know the one true source within. Like I only know that the one thing, the one consciousness, God, source, creator, Yahweh, great spirit, whatever, you know, there's so many names. That is the only source, and that is the only way. And so all the other little control things, like even like, oh, marketing the book, and you know, oh, I'm going to get my endorsements and la 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 la. Like, yeah, I'm doing those things, but I know that that is not the thing. Like that is inconsequential. I am doing the thing because I'm third dimensional, you know, I take the action, whatever, it doesn't matter. But it's not the thing. The great creator will make it known if it's meant to be known, period. Period.
That is true. And the thing is that it is always, those illusions are embedded in everything, even if your intention is good sometimes. Like sometimes my intention is to teach, but even with that, there could be illusion. Like I'll tell you an example. When I go back to Egypt, I have friends that we grow up together, and we had so much memories. We love each other, but our spiritual path has changed completely. And so when I go there, they call, in my new book that I'm writing right now, there's a little short story called Debate. And that's basically, they're trying to save me from that. They think I'm going insane, right? They're trying to save me. And so they will do anything they can to get me to debate with them, to argue. And my innate guide, I almost never did it, because even my intention is to show what is true. My innate guide is telling me, if you debate, you go down to illusion again.
Yes. Okay. I'm so glad you've brought this up, because this is really key for everybody out there. You know, we see in our world so much conflict, so much polarity and conflict.
Yeah.
And so I've been noticing that in the spiritual community, the strategy of that has been to like block, ignore, right? Like block, ignore, block, ignore. But that doesn't, that even that feeds the polarity. And so I've been like learning, asking, okay, tell me, show me, creator, like how can I be in a space that doesn't create polarity? And so I actually got some answers. I was on retreat all last week, and one of the things that came up very powerfully for me is something I notice. I've worked a lot with the shamans in the jungle. And so what I notice when they do a healing, they will sing a song, right? They will sing a song, and your attention is on the melody and on the song and on the beauty and all of this. Meanwhile, under here, they're clearing, you know, clearing the pain, clearing the suffering, but their attention is there to keep you here, you know, but they clear here. And so I
Whoa.
knew that. And so I was like, okay, how do I
Yeah.
do that? You know, because I'm practicing these arts of healing. And I think we do it all the time with our words and our intentions as conscious thought leaders. And so talk a little bit about that, because I know you've got some ideas around that.
About what specifically?
About, you know, how do we not create the polarity, right? So there's
Okay.
the debate. And so how do we hold presence with the love that we are in all of our connections without going into the debate?
Oh man. And we have to face that, because the part in me that want to debate is my ego, because my ego wants to stand out, want to make sure that I am right, and I want to make sure that I'm valid. And yes, and you can let me go now. I know what I'm doing. But then my innate knowing is showing me the bigger picture and reminding me that people invested all their lives in some belief system. You cannot go and tell them this is wrong. You can't. It just, and when we speak, you and me, and we do that all the times, we speak energy more than language, because language, words are in the mind, in the illusion. If they are not ready to see, how can you make them see what they cannot see? It is not my responsibility. So I just sit with this, and I really work hard at that point to get myself out from needing to validate myself. And I have to say, I'm really proud that I never fell into that bait debate every time I go back. I allow them to be what they are.
Yeah, it's honoring that every person on the planet is a conscious divine being that has choice. So, and for me, and as I see everybody that way, I then can shift my mentality out of a space where I think something needs to be fixed in them.
Yes.
And that lets them have an opening to not defend themselves, which then puts me in a situation where I can be just in presence with them without having to fix them or change them. And that took me launching the Skills Not Pills movement to figure that out. So
Yeah.
because I created a polarity. I said skills, not pills. I said, no, don't take the pills, because that is, that doesn't heal it actually. And because that was my journey.
Mm.
But that doesn't mean that's true for everybody.
Yes. I think you said really important things there. Well, you know, our ego does not understand that nothing needs to be fixed. It just doesn't make sense. It's illogical. If you think about it, it's illogical that nothing needs to be fixed. On the other hand, the innate guide is telling you abundance is. It tells you, I am. And the ego will say, I'm what? Tell me something I can comprehend. I'm an accountant. I'm a professional. I'm a good father, right? Because the language of the soul is incomprehensible. You cannot understand it unless you get into that same vibration. I also heard something really good that you said, that singing thing, and I just
Yes.
love it so much. And this is something that I've seen also in a lot of the new age wave transformation, transcendence, I call it. Transcending is just to transcend the illusion and to see what is true. As I said, abundance is. When you know that abundance is you, wow, nothing needs to be fixed. And so in step 6 here, it's called inspired action. I speak about that there are 2 methods of transcending. And sometimes we lean into one and leave the other. One method is on the level of the mind. And one level is when you silence the mind. That's on the level of the soul. That one has a little bit less attention. We focus on the level of the mind, which is like affirmations, going to talk with counselor, reading books, all these things. That's the level of the intellect. But there is also a level of the soul. So when you sing, you silence the mind. And you love that what is true, which is the light of the soul, comes through because the mind is silent. When the mind is silent, the mind is like the cloud. And the sun is up there, the soul. When you silence the mind, the clouds opens up and the light shines through. And it does magic. It does the transcendence that you want to do.
Yeah, it kind of erases whatever you thought was the problem, because it's like as you put the attention on the song and on the beauty, and you allow your heart to open, then all of the problems The things you were focusing on before, you're not focusing on now.
Yes.
They just dissolve because they're an illusion anyway. They just and then try to go back to it. You can't. Like
Yes.
you have to make an effort to go back to it after a healing like that because
Yes.
your bridge is gone. Like the bridge just got washed away.
You're shining.
Yeah,
The light is coming
the
through and
light
you're
is
shining.
shining.
But you can go back. But generally we're moving forward.
We don't want to go back. And so
No,
I tell
yeah.
people you get a little disoriented. Like I love that you were talking about the disorientation because when people do the work, like in my group, I work with butterfly medicine, right? So it's sort of like this, like the evolution thing. And when people work on this, then they get disoriented sometimes after a session. And I say, well, okay, so just allow that disorientation to be there and to think of it more like being reoriented, like because you want to get realigned, like realigned in a more true way. And then it will feel a little odd, but you because it's comfortable. Talk about the ego being comfortable, because that's really what that is. Like we get comfortable in the paradigm we know, which is the illusion, which is not true, but we get comfortable there. But it's actually not the most fulfilling place, right? It's not the place we really want to stay. We want to stay. We want to go into this, and that I think is the fear. That's the fear you were talking about too.
Oh, the ego brings suffering. I mean, let me tell you, I'm a master in suffering. I mean, I had to have the course, the full course, right? You know, if you allow me to, if I allowed my mind to start talking about my problems, it will never end. And wait, you haven't even heard about my issues.
But
So
you're not putting your attention, like if you put your focus there, what you focus on grows, right? So
it's the ego. The
yeah.
ego can, the ego focus. You see, we are moving up one level, and that level of the ego, there's really no solution. It's like, it's hopeless.
It's an endless puzzle. It is a maze without an exit.
Yeah, there's no hope there.
No,
It
you can't solve
has
it.
to have another level of consciousness has to shine through.
Oh, love that.
Yeah.
Yes. Because when you're down, when you're only in the egoic self, there's just thought tunnels and mind mazes. And then you get back around to the same spot you were and you thought you were getting someplace new, and then you're there again and you can't get out. And when you try to go another way, and it's like a labyrinth that never ends, you actually can't get out.
Yes, you get lost,
Yeah,
literally lost,
lost in there.
lost. And one thing like what you just did, the singing, it can get you back home again.
It lifts you. It lifts
Yeah.
you to and this is interesting because my teacher one of my trainings was with the Four Winds, which is energy medicine, and Alberto Vialdo, who studied with these people down in the indigenous people, because he was like, how are they doing this? This is amazing. You know, like what are they doing? And when they lift the song, they're bringing our mind to the mythic. They're bringing us into the mythic space, the what they call the space of hummingbird, which is the place that all, you know, creation comes from. Inspiration, your muse, you know, when you do artwork and you create beauty, those are all like the mythic space. And you go up to hummingbird and there's no more problem, right? It's part of a your mind can make sense of everything from that space as part of maybe an epic drama or cosmic theater. You know, like there's other ways of processing it, which is an awakening.
It's a win-win. It's a win-win. And that does not exist on that level. And of the Maya matrix, how they call it in that book, the illusion of reality as we know it does not live there. You cannot find it. No matter what you do, how many things, tasks on your lists, or you know, all the reading all the books about self-help, it just does, it's not there. It has to be shine through.
Yeah.
It
And then
cannot
once
be
you get there,
stolen.
you get it. That's the other thing.
Yes.
Like it's experiential, right? So like no book is going to get you there, which I think is the real hang up of like a lot of world religions, is they think the answer's in the book, but the answer is not in the book. The book is a guide to just sort of trigger some things so that you can go your own journey. But if you never go your own journey to do the exploration, you're never actually going to arrive at the destination that you think the book is leading you to.
True. That's true.
That was just breathe that one in, everybody. Take a deep breath. I just did a taboo. Breathe it in. But it's true. We have to, that's why spirituality is different. Spirituality is a personal experience of the divine. It's a personal journey, and there's like no two pathways the same. You can do a guidepost. Like, people will read your book, Omar, and they will find some places they can dive into the pool. They'll find some places they can connect with you and your journey, and maybe go through the door that you opened that leads to another space, but it's all a journey that they actually take within themselves. It's not
Yes.
possible to take your journey.
Yes, because what I'm writing a vibration. I'm tapping into an energy frequency. And so, and honestly, I didn't know that, maybe I knew deep inside, but to have that many people read the book, that was something,
Yes.
because it sounded like transcending the Maya. I mean, it sounds like a conspiracy theory. Maya means illusion.
The illusion.
Yeah, and matrix, basically the illusion of reality as we know it. And so, to have people connected, and it's really the words. Like, people who read it from here, they're probably not gonna get. Actually, I may not get everything either.
Well, aren't we all students of what we're teaching?
Yes, absolutely.
And it's
Yes, we
humbling.
are.
I find it humbling.
Yes, Yogi Bhajan said something really cool, and it never left me. It says, if you know something about some subject, just go study it. But if you want to master it, then teach it.
Whew. Isn't that the truth?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
when you start to teach it, at least I'll speak from the I place. When I started shifting out of from healer individual session into group, like teaching, then this other energy came in to me, like this other level of ego identification, thinking that I'm responsible for like a level of responsibility for all these other people. And in some way it's true, but in other ways it's not. It's just a projection of the ego to think it has some measure of control over other people's lives that actually it doesn't have. And really, there's a larger force. It's always at play. It's always moving through, expressing as me, expressing as you. That is always at play. Like, I feel like I'm just the piano that it's playing. I'm just the piano it's playing, and it's making the notes. And as long as I keep myself limber and oiled and greased, that it can play me better. But if I'm stuck and tight or holding on to something I think I want to be mine so that I can have some self-importance, then I don't play very well, right? And I don't like how I'm being played. I don't like the sound as well. But if I can loosen that up and let it go, like, I can be played in really beautiful ways.
Absolutely. That's what my NA guide is telling me. Like, you are just an open channel. Allow the energy to flow through. It has no responsibility of what people are gonna get or what the book's gonna do,
Or if anybody ever reads it.
or anybody even can read it. And that is hard for the ego, man. Because you know what? I even paid more money. I spend a lot of money. I have a CPA firm. I don't know if you can believe that, but I do. I'm a CPA and I have a CPA firm, and I had to hire more people to do a lot of the work so I can be focused, right, on writing the book. And so I invested a whole year in this, right? My ego is saying, you better get some money out of this. It's better be worth it.
Yeah, and then what's worth it, right? And then the fear, like, I love how you talked about that, the fear of pushing publish. And then, okay, so what happened for your ego in the fear of that pushing publish? Like,
Well, in the moment I pressed the publish, I felt like like a sigh, and then a vision came and says, well, now your work is done, we'll take it from here. And I'm like, okay,
Wow.
okay.
Did you feel peace?
I felt peace. I felt peace. And that's it. And I had to remain, because that's choosing truth means, rather than choosing the illusion. I have to remain loyal to that peace, choosing it moment by moment.
That's so interesting. Feeling all this. So,
Yeah.
and then are you teaching the material as well? Are you teaching?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yes, yes. I'm doing a whole lot of things.
Is it kind of taken off beyond
Huh?
your wildest expectations? Has it?
Well, of course, you get to talk to people from all over the world. You got to, you got to hear people what they got from the book. And then I launched a little program that I call Intention to Realization. And I'm also a nerd. I created a website that I called co-creationsmanager.com. There's no advertising. There's nothing at all. There's not even a landing page, but it's free. People can go there, create an account and go there, and then they will find a whole lot of stuff, like what to do when you're feeling resistance. So there's meditation. It's really hard to explain, but the website is created in a way where you can journal, listen to meditation, and move to the next steps. So I have module called Divine Design. That's if you want to create a long-term goal. I have a module about making a decision, a module about releasing resistance through breathing, different things like that, free journaling. So anyway, and there's also my groups that I work with are private groups. So if you go there, you will not feel anything because it's only you. It's private journaling, private work. But then I have private groups that I work with, so we can see each other's and our work and things like that.
And so what's the starting point for people to start finding out about your work? Like, do you have?
Intentionalbeings.com. I
Okay,
think would be it. Intentional Beings.
beautiful.
Yeah, this is where you find the podcast. And right now, the insight coming saying you're going to do something called realizing abundance. Realizing abundance. But then the insights coming and say, don't promise anything. Don't say anything. Is it going to
Yeah.
be a book? Is it going to be a program? Is it going to be, I don't know. And so it's insisting that I take the money out of the equation.
Hmm.
Because if I kept the money in the equation, I'm not saying that money is wrong at all,
No,
but
but
it's
we have
giving
addiction and attachment to money.
absolutely. It's part of, we actually want abundance. We don't want money.
Well, what we want is abundant everything, right? Safety,
Everything.
love, travel, yummy food, like the whole earth experience. And we attach to the money as the source of getting all those things, and that's inaccurate because there's only one source, and it's not
Yes.
money. Money is just part of the framework of the thing, but it's not the thing.
Yes.
So, like, everyone's attached to the money, is like the money is the thing that gets them all the stuff. But no, there's the larger force that gets you all the stuff. And I think
Yes.
I've proven that time and time again. So I've definitely on this path gone through all the money challenges. Like, talk
Yes.
about things getting taken away that you're attached to, right? Like I've had all that happen. And during the course of all that happening, of all, having all the money taken away, I always had everything I needed. It was amazing how that worked.
Yes. I
It's
hear
just
you.
I'm fine. No
I hear you.
worries. My house mortgage still got paid. Everything's fine.
Yes.
It's all good. See, you just kind of wonder, like, how does that happen? But yet it does.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Because yeah. Yeah. It's not 1 + 1 = 2.
No, but our brains are trained that way, but that's not true. Yeah.
Yes. There is a quote that I love that I always like to say it. I jump with both legs. It has to do with surrender,
Yes.
letting go. And I don't know if it's when you jump and there's a ground that will provide for you.
Yes.
It's surrender. I love Eckhart Tolle's statement. It says, surrender is the yielding rather than the opposing to the flow of life.
Yes. Yielding. Yeah, allowing
Yield.
whatever's to be. Because you hear the voice all the time, but your ego says that's ridiculous, that's ridiculous, that's ridiculous. And your ego argues with it like all the time. Like, this
And it
isn't true.
meant for us.
But I've noticed in myself, if I just stop listening to that ego, I say, okay, that's nice. That's fine. I'm not going to, shh, you know,
Don't
I'm
hush
listening
it.
to you.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm wrapping you in my arms and I'm not, but I'm like this, I'm going here, like, just put that on
I'm now,
pause and I'm
I'm
going this
now,
way.
it's my turn now.
Yeah.
I'll say my word. And here is my word. Yeah,
Yeah. That's so
yeah,
fun. Yeah, don't, yeah, there's so much. Oh my gosh, we could go on and on. This has been amazing. This has been a really beautiful conversation with you, Omar. I knew it
yeah,
was going to be,
yeah.
and so it is.
Absolutely, absolutely,
So,
absolutely.
well, I know I'll have you on the show again at some point because that was just so, so good. We'll do that again. And I hope everybody out there enjoyed it. And I encourage you to go to intentionalbeings.com and check out the work, and to go check out Omar's book. And I put all the links in the show notes. So, there's no worries, or they'll be in the show notes. You'll be able to click and go. And if you feel inspired to leave a comment, we will tune into your comment and give you some feedback on the broadcast. If you leave a comment, you find it on iTunes or YouTube or Soul Nectar Show, wherever you find it, I'll see those comments and I'll direct them back to Omar so we can get an answer. And yeah, like and share and help us to reach more people. We really appreciate your participation in that. And I like to give people kisses. Would you like to join me in giving people kisses, Omar? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, here we go. Okay, get ready, everybody. Here they come. Mwah. We'll see you next week on Soul Nectar Show. Thank you so much for tuning in and being part of our community.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.